Right. Well, thank you everyone for taking a look at our stable accounts presentation today. Today I have Elena Bowers joining with me from the Treasurer's Office in Ohio, and she's going to be talking about stable accounts and what they can mean for your family. You can take a look at our website if you want to scan our QR code here to learn more about us and what we do. Our mission and our mission is to create connections, empowering everyone in the autism community with the resources that they need fully. Our vision is that we create a world where everyone in the autism community is connected to the support that they need when they need it. And I just wanted to briefly mention our five core services: adapted community events, advocacy, education, information and referral, including a free helpline, and support. If this presentation is meaningful to you and helpful for your family, please feel free to scan the QR code to make a donation to Autism Society of Greater Akron so that we can continue to do presentations like this for the community. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Elena Bowers, who will talk to us about stable accounts. So thank you, Elena, for being here and for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having our program featured. Today, we are going to do a great run through of what stable account is. I've got a pretty efficient slide deck that I'm going to share. And then Teresa and I are actually going to do some casual Q&A at the end, and just answer some questions and just some facts about the program, and really just kind of tether it more to financial wellness to ensure that families and self-advocates that are watching have the best understanding of what this program is. So we're excited to feature it. And we're excited to hopefully do some more events with the Autism Society of Greater Akron, especially because they have such a great scope in the community, and we love to be in person for certain events as well. So we tested this earlier. Hopefully this works. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. All right, I think we're good. Can you see my screen, Teresa?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here then. Perfect. All right. And then on my end, I'm just going to stop video here, go click. Okay, screen is good.
All good.
Awesome. Okay, great. So as I mentioned, Stable Account is a great program within Ohio, but we are also a national program. So we'll talk a little bit about the history of the program, how we came to be, and why this program is so important for so many Ohioans and so many people across the country. We are administered by the Ohio Treasurer's Office, and our outreach really consists of just traveling around Ohio, doing virtual presentations, attending events. We are really trying to ramp up our outreach for new enhancements, and also the ABLE age adjustment, which will come in effect January 2026, which we'll talk about, which is awesome. But today we just kind of want to go through the history of the program, enrollment, eligibility, management of the account, and some commonly asked questions that we get about how to use the funds, what can you use the funds on, and then I love to share some ambassador stories that really hit home to how this program is helping families and self-advocates. So for those that are familiar with Stable Account, or maybe this is the first time you're hearing about Stable Account, or maybe this is the first time that you have heard about the program in some capacity, but you've also heard of ABLE Accounts. We'd love to kind of give an overview of how this program came to be, because it's one of the most inspiring stories. It was a grassroots effort to get the ABLE Act passed way back in 2014. And also, the people that were advocating for the ABLE Act to pass and to kind of get this, to bring awareness to it, are a lot of different self-advocates and families across the country. But we are home to the first ever ABLE account opened in the United States, and her name is Ann Gerhardt out of Cincinnati. So we love to tell the story of kind of how this came to be. But in general, ABLE accounts across the country are tax advantage savings options for individuals with disabilities. So ABLE accounts really act as savings and investment accounts. The money can be contributed into the accounts, and then the money can be withdrawn for certain expenses, which we'll talk about. But the purpose behind these accounts are that they truly protect the funds, and also ensuring that those individuals are able to keep their eligibility for means-tested benefits. Common ones that we always reference are SSI, which is Supplemental Security Income, SSDI, and Medicaid. So if somebody is currently receiving those benefits that they rely on, they know that there are certain restrictions on how much money you can have in your personal bank accounts. Your assets, obviously have to be below a certain limit. Currently, if you receive SSI, you are not allowed to go over the $2,000 resource limit at any time. So that limits those individuals to be able to take on work opportunities or really have a place where they can save for their future. So ABLE accounts allow those individuals to have a protected place to save their money. And the reason of that is because the ABLE Act was passed in 2014. It took many, many years to get awareness of this, but it passed in Congress. And this is actually a picture of Jenny Cunningham, who also serves on our advisory board for Stable Account, and she is an advocate for the program. She works here in Franklin County, and we're proud that she is an ambassador for the program. So moving on to what Stable Account is. Stable Account is Ohio's ABLE program. We are a national ABLE plan. We were the first state to launch an ABLE program. And we are the first and obviously the most used ABLE plan in the country, which really allows us to work with other ABLE programs. We always are staying on top of legislative updates, efforts, and we want to ensure that anyone in the United States has an awareness of what ABLE accounts are in general, but that they also have access to knowing what Stable Account is. So we're proud that we have account holders in every state. This is just a great visual. I know it's a little outdated by a couple of months, but to be a program that has so many account holders, and it's just really cool to see it this way. The blue states are our partner states. So while we are a national plan, we do have 11 partner states that we do a lot of great operational and outreach enhancements with. And those are the states that are under the Stable Account plan. But we are a national plan for anyone that is ever moving out of Ohio and has a Stable Account. You can obviously keep your program. As I mentioned, we're always looking for great ways to create a partnership with new groups. We've done a lot of great outreach over the last 9 years, but in the field, there's still so many times where we connect with families and self-advocates, and they are not truly familiar with what this program is, or they might have heard of ABLE accounts. They're not really sure how it fits into what Stable Account is. And so we want to just ensure that anyone that's eligible for this program has the awareness of what this program is, how it can impact their savings goals, long-term goals, and then of course, the great freedom that they can keep their benefits as well. So we have over 46,000 account holders as of today across the country, which is awesome. We have $550 million in assets under management, which that in itself is such an achievement to know that there's so many account holders that have the ability to save their money each year and also keep their benefits. And our program is always thinking of ways to enhance the back end, the features of the program. We really want to ensure that no self-advocate or family is unaware of how to use the portal and access funds. So we're always making it very accessibly friendly as well. So the benefits of having a stable account, as I mentioned, about the benefits feature, those that have a stable account now have a way that they can protect their money. They have a way that they can put their wages in, especially if they're working and they're trying to take on a higher hourly rate, or they're getting a bonus, or maybe grandma wants to give them money. They now have a place where they know that that money can sit and grow. That account can also be used on day-to-day expenses, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. But it really gives that ownership, that self-esteem to that account holder itself. When this program was created, we really did think about the account holder experience, the person with the disability, how they would use this account, what they would use the account on. So we really try to encourage the eligible individual to open the account on their own. We'll talk a little bit about enrollment and a little bit about how somebody else can open an account on behalf of someone with a disability. But we know a lot of account holders that this is their account, they own the account, they use the account, and they enroll on their own. And it's really empowering to see that. And then, of course, if somebody is on SSI, there is a lot of concern with how much money can be in your bank accounts. Medicaid has certain restrictions as well if somebody is working. So this is a program that kind of offsets that concern. If somebody has a stable account, they don't have to be worried about the spend down of your SSI. You can actually put your SSI funds in the stable account, And then that money can be rolled over, the next month and be used for different types of expenses as well. This is a picture that I love. We did an ambassador story a couple years ago with Kyle McKay. He is the staff photographer, and he also owns his own business. He is a photographer within Franklin County, and we did a great storytelling with him. And then Carrie Jones is actually the former president CEO of the Down Syndrome Association Central Ohio, and she's still within their community in some capacity, and she's just such a promoter of this program, and we got to do a great story with him. So it was cool to hear Kyle's story. He is somebody who not only is part of the DeSaco community, but he has his own business. So he's able to use a stable account on awesome expenses that contribute to his business, but he also uses it on medical expenses, daily expenses like bills, and other things that are improving his life. So when we promote stable account and we try to advocate for it to so many different organizations, we really like to ensure that they know that this is a financial wellness tool. It is a protected place where people can have their own money, just like other types of bank accounts. But obviously the big feature of it is that you can put more money into it and still keep your benefits. So I mentioned that anybody can contribute to a stable account. So we have a great gifting feature. So, if somebody opens a stable account on their own and they're graduating or their birthday's coming up, or, your parents just want to provide money to you on a monthly basis in some way, we have a great and easy gifting feature. We also, our program allows up to $19,000 to be rolled over from a 529 college savings account. So if you have an established 529 college savings account opened in Ohio, and down the road you feel that education is not the right setting for your child, you can actually roll over funds into a new stable account and then use those funds on education, but also different types of expenses. So it's a really great feature that you can do that. And then another great resource we mentioned that really kind of collaborates very well with our program are special needs trusts or other types of pooled trusts. We've done some great outreach with different special needs trust attorneys across the state. We actually were presenting on last Friday at the Autism Speaks conference in Columbus, and we did a financial wellness session with a special needs trust attorney who explained all of the great functions of a special needs trust, their tax benefits, guardianship, probate court, all that really important stuff that we try to stay on top of course. But the one thing that we love is that they're very collaborative with what Stable Account offers. So if you have a special needs trust currently established or another type of pooled trust, you can actually take funds out of those trusts, out of that trust, and put it into a stable account. And then the stable account offers a little bit more flexibility on what that can be spent on. So it's great that they advocate for our program. And then, of course, we always mention those types of different accounts. Special needs trusts, of course, are opened independently with an attorney or financial planner in some way. So we always encourage the family or the self-advocate to do kind of that research on their own. And then, of course, the tax advantages. So if you have a stable account and you are working, any income earned in a stable account grows tax-free as long as the withdrawals are used for qualified disability expenses. So any contributions into the account, whether it's coming from your wages, whether it's coming from your grandma, whether it's coming from your SSI, grows tax-free. There are no tax penalties to take the money out as long as they're used for qualified disability expenses. And then contributions are, for the state of Ohio, are deductible up to $4,000 per year per stable account with unlimited carry forward. So some great tax benefits. So for eligibility for all ABLE programs across the country, there's sort of two features to how somebody can open an account and if they qualify. We do have a great quiz on our website. We also have some information about eligibility on our website as well. But in general, the number one thing is if the individual developed their disability before they turned 26. So we like to use the word onset. So maybe that's a diagnosis at some point in their life before they turn 26. Maybe they were born with a disability, a developmental disability, intellectual disability. As long as you can, ensure that your diagnosis condition occurred before you turn 26, you can qualify for the program. You don't have to be under 26, of course. We have a lot of account holders we know that are well into their 70s, but they had a condition that was diagnosed before they turned 26. And then starting January 2026, the eligibility age will increase to 46, meaning that if you were diagnosed after 26, we are really looking at veteran outreach, different types of medical conditions that were diagnosed or occurred after 26. So this is a huge initiative. We're really trying to ramp up our outreach for this because we know that there's a lot of potential individuals in Ohio and across the country that are absolutely going to benefit from this change. So we're ramping up our outreach for that. Obviously, it doesn't happen until January, but that will be here before we know it, of course. And then the second piece is if your disability allows you to be eligible to receive those means tested benefits we talked about, so SSI, SSDI, or Medicaid. Our office does not directly work with the Social Security Administration because we're a state office, whereas they're a federal office. So if you are curious about getting on benefits, we encourage you to kind of do some research on your own. The Social Security Administration has a great resource to see the process of getting on benefits. The boards of DD in Ohio, all 88 of them, are incredible. They're huge supporters of our program, and they're kind of that hub to get awareness of what benefits are, and it can really assist with the process. So if you are eligible for benefits, then you're eligible for a stable account as well. We have a lot of account holders that are not currently on benefits, and that is totally okay. You do not currently have to be receiving benefits to have a stable account. But if you are receiving benefits like SSI or SSDI, you know that there's restrictions on how much you can have in your bank account. So that is why it's so important to know about our program so that you can benefit from saving and more in your account. And then enrollment can be done by the person with the disability. I mentioned we always think about the account holder and their experience with having this account. So if you have the capacity to go to our website, go through enrollment, it's going to ask you questions about identifiable information like your social security number, your date of birth, might ask you some address information. It's going to verify that you are who you say you are. As soon as that is completed, you'll be able to kind of go through the process of putting in your eligibility, which there's, different screens for that. But in the event that somebody that is eligible is not able to do that on their own, an authorized legal representative can actually open the account on their behalf. So there's only one beneficiary on the account. It's always a person with a disability that's eligible. But we see a lot of parents, guardians, siblings, grandparents opening stable accounts on behalf of their loved one. And they have the authorization to log into the portal. They can make contributions. They can spend on behalf of the individual to benefit their life. So we've really made that process very easy in those situations as well. Enrollment is only done at our website. I'm going to actually show the website at the end of this. And we really have done a lot of great enhancements with accessibility features. It's a very quick and easy process. And then we do require a $25 minimum opening deposit to get the account started. So when you go through enrollment and you get an email that your account is ready to go, you can have the option to start making deposits that same day. When you make your first deposit, if you want to link a bank account, and then you can choose, I'm going to take $25 from this bank account. I'm going to maybe deposit more. But as soon as you make your first deposit, you will actually be eligible for our enrollment incentive. So for Ohioans, you'll actually get that $25 back reflected in the next month. So that was our enrollment incentive that we launched last April for Able to Save Month. So if you open a stable account tomorrow for 2025, there are contribution limits each year that all ABLE programs abide by. So the general contribution for 2025 is $19,000. That's from all sources. So that could be from your wages, that could be from SSI, that could be from your parents or your guardian or whoever is, helping you contribute to your savings goals. And then if the account holder is employed and they are making more than that $19,000 and they want to start putting more of their wages in, another initiative that was passed by Congress was the Able to Work Act. So that allows individuals to contribute an additional amount of money. So for 2025, that is $15,060, which is amazing. Because if you're on SSI, you know that you can't have more than $2,000. So if you're working, you have to be really, really mindful of your hours each week. You have to be mindful of, can I take a raise? Can I take a bonus? Well, what if my parents give me money? So this is a way that you can actually put your wages into the stable account. They can be saved, they can be, grown with investments in that capacity if you choose different types of investments. But there's also a lot of functionality of being able to put your money in and use the money for day-to-day expenses as well. So you can fund the account a couple different ways. You can fund it via check. You can mail a check in. I mentioned our payroll and Social Security Administration direct deposit. So that's a way that you can have your paycheck go right into the stable account. You would basically connect with whoever is managing your payroll at your company, and you would provide them with the stable account number and routing number, just like a typical bank account. That's how easy it is to set this up. And then we also have a gifting feature, which I mentioned. And then any external bank accounts, you can transfer money through our EFT process as well. So if you've got a bank account at PNC or Huntington or whatever bank you use, and you want to keep that just to make things a little bit more simple on your end, you can still have a stable account and transfer money between both accounts if that is a better process for you. So we've made that process very simple to set up and then start making contributions as well. So the program serves as a savings and investment account. So when you create your account, it's going to ask you how you want to disperse your funds when you start making contributions. The bank safe option is what we like to call our super savings account. I would say about 65% of our account holders utilize the bank safe option, meaning that all of their funds are housed in the bank safe option. It is getting a pretty good return right now. It's not a typical savings account, but it functions as a savings account in the sense that 100% of it is cash. We also have 4 mutual funds that you can choose from. Won't go into too much detail right now, just because we do encourage the self-advocates and the families to, go to our website. You can always, view the different reports and the returns and the performance over the last couple of years, especially if you're not really, if you're not really sure what investments are, and this is kind of intimidating, we want to make sure that individuals have an understanding of what this process is as well. Being the treasurer's office, we obviously don't give investment advice per se, but we are working on a financial literacy project that is going to allow new account holders and current account holders to get the most out of their experience. So we're in the process of making some edits to those pages and PDF documents, but we do have a topic all about investments. So we've really detailed, what is a bond? What is a stock? What have our account holders been able to do in the past with their investment options? And that's going to be able to be shared with our partners, and it'll be housed on our website. So as soon as that's published, that's another great resource where you can really get some more detailed information of what the investment options are as well. And then to spend from the account, you can transfer money out of the account into a trusted bank account. You can pay bills with a third-party check. So we would mail the check to you, and then you could write it to AEP or a medical facility if you're trying to pay a medical bill. I know some places don't take checks anymore, but we still have checks. And then our third feature is the Visa card. So the Visa card is a loadable prepaid debit card. And the way that it works is if you have $20,000 in your stable account and you are looking at the month of June and you're like, all right, I'm going to Cedar Point. I've got my, living expenses bills. I'm going to transfer $500 to my Visa card. It takes about 3 to 5 days for the funds to be on the card for protection. And then as soon as there's money on the Visa card, you can use that card anywhere Visa debit cards are accepted. So you can link it to your Amazon, you can link it to your Uber Eats, you can use it in person at Target, you can swipe it just like you would any typical debit card. So this is the best way that our account holders can really rely on their stable account for different types of savings and expenses. So a lot of our families like to set up this account and they'll contribute a little bit into it each year. They might take out some money for bigger expenses, but a lot of our account holders actually utilize this for day-to-day living as well. They might have a bank account still that captures their wages or they just have it for SSI. But their stable account is sort of that place where they can put a lot more money into, and then they can obviously use the Visa card for different types of expenses. So what are those expenses? The biggest question we get is, what can we use a stable account on? I mentioned that all the contributions grow tax-free, which is awesome. And then anytime you want to spend out of the account, we ensure that as long as the expense is a qualified disability expense, then it is an approved expense, meaning that it must relate to the disability or help maintain, improve the health, independence, or quality of life. So these are sort of big picture icons we always like to reference. A lot of the things that when we talk to our ambassadors and we hear what they're using their money on, they always like to say, oh, I use it on vacation. I use it on Uber. I use it on Uber Eats. I make online purchases. So, these are kind of the more important things most people spend their money on, of course, if they're working, kind of the basic living expenses, housing, rent, education, but it is broad enough where you can use your stable account on things that are going to make you happy and improve the quality of your life. So it's been cool to hear some different stories from our ambassadors that they've able to use it on a plane ticket. They've been able to use it where their school went to Cedar Point. But of course, if you have a debit card, you're going to use that wherever you would use a typical debit card. But this is another way that families can rely on some of those longer term goals. So if you've got a child living at home with you now and you're in the process of finding a facility that they might live in at some point, or an awesome group home, and you know that there might be an expense related to that, you can start saving for that. Saving for a car, saving for a wheelchair accessible van. That's one of our great ambassador stories as well. And then for the 529 rollover, meaning that you can take money out of the 529 and put it in a stable account, you can also use funds on in a stable account on education as well. Tuition, books, dorm room necessities, anything that's going to improve your life. So it's broad enough for a reason, of course. And we always say that the funds must be used on the person that is eligible for the program. So that is sort of the disclaimer we like to say there. And then what happens when an account holder passes away? So the ALR, so the authorized legal representative, can use the funds in the account if there is an ALR on the account for outstanding expenses. So if I have a stable account and I pass away and I don't have an ALR in my account would basically go through normal probate court process, and somebody close to me, my mom, my brother, they would basically, go through the process to get access to my account and my estate. As soon as that happens, they can still use the money in the stable account on, outstanding expenses, taking care of the estate, funeral, burial expenses. After that is all spent out, if I was receiving Medicaid at any time that I had a stable account, Medicaid can ask for a payback through their Medicaid estate recovery process. So there are some protections currently for stable account, meaning that before Medicaid can put a claim, somebody close to the account holder can use it, as I mentioned, on outstanding expenses, funeral expenses as well. If no funds happen, if somebody has a stable account and they've never been on Medicaid, then they don't have to worry about Medicaid estate recovery. So if no recovery or funds are left after, then they become part of the estate and follow normal procedures of what happens to anybody's funds in someone's estate. I will mention that the Treasurer's Office has been working on a bill that will actually restrict Medicaid from being able to recover funds in someone's stable account in the state of Ohio. There's currently about 17 states that have passed similar legislation that would limit Medicaid from recovering funds just from an ABLE account in their state. So we've been really, looking at how that process happened. We've got two legislators that have been really supportive to this initiative. And every time I talk about this to our organizations, they think it's just such an incredible initiative. And the reason that we're so passionate about this is because we hear a lot from families that they're hesitant to put a lot of money in a stable account because they know that if their child passes away, it's going to all go back to the state. And that's obviously not true because it would really go through the Medicaid estate recovery process. So in a way, it would go back to the state. But that kind of limits some families from wanting to put a lot of money in, knowing that they don't have access to it after their child or their loved one passes away. So we've had some testimony. We actually were at the State House last week for testimony, and we'll obviously have some supportive testimony coming up soon. But we're hoping that that passes. And then, of course, if that does pass, that would, obviously protect the stable account a little bit more after account holder passes away. So we will keep our partners, stay tuned for that. And then our program is always thinking of ways to lower the cost, to make it easy to enroll and ensure that the cost doesn't restrict anybody from feeling that they can have the account. So currently, Ohio residents pay $15 per year. And then because we're a national program, the other states pay $27 per year. Within the Medicaid bill, we actually also have another provision in there where we actually will be limiting the account fees for Ohioans. So this would basically start, I think, after July or August, I think it would happen, where there are no longer fees for Ohioans that have a stable account. So we're always thinking of ways to give back to the program, and that's through our budget proposal. So that's another one to stay tuned for. But as of now, these are the costs, and in our opinion, those are pretty minimal costs to having a financial product. So just some upcoming enhancements and news. I mentioned our operational enhancements. We have a great language support, a language line support that we launched recently. The portal itself, I've gotten to kind of take a look at the back end when I've helped people open accounts, and I was at the Ohio School for the Deaf a couple weeks ago, and I sat with a young woman who was opening an account for the first time, and we were working with an interpreter, which was amazing and really cool to be part of. And it took about 15 minutes for her to get through every single slide every page while we were kind of working with the interpreter, and she was, getting her information, her bank information, and just making sure that she was doing everything correctly. And for something to take 10 to 15 minutes to open up, and then as soon as it's, ready to go, you can start making contributions is pretty quick. So it was cool to see that, but we're always making sure that our features, our websites, our supports, our app have accessibility features for all types of people with disabilities. We launched an app a couple months ago, which is great. So that is going to be found. Vestwell State Savings is who manages our program across the country. Vestwell, I should have put that in there, but it's Vestwell State Savings. And so they have an app within the App Store for Android and Apple under Vestwell. So you would see it, and then as soon as you download it, it's going to prompt you to log into whatever product or program that you're part of. And so for this case, it would be Stable. So you would just use your Stable account login credentials, just like you'd use on your website. And that's a way that you can have, your balance information, your contribution information right in your phone. So we've got a lot of account holders that are utilizing that update, which is great. I mentioned our financial literacy project, a guide to stable accounts. It's been working. We've been working on it for a while. There's some great topics that really are aimed to help new and current account holders understand the function of the program, kind of getting the most out of your stable account, or I've opened a stable account, now what? So we really kind of have taken a look at the last couple of years and some of the questions we've gotten, some of the concerns, and really just the points of what this program is all about. So we'll be sure to share that with our partners, and I'll definitely let Teresa know when that's on our website, and it'll be able to be shared via PDF as well. Ambassador stories. We love to meet account holders. So if anybody currently is watching this, or if Teresa knows anybody that has a stable account and they're willing to tell their story, we always are looking for testimonials, especially if somebody is in their community, they're working, they're part of a great community. We love to tell that story as well. So always feel free to email our program and say, hey, I'm in Akron, or I'm in Portage County, and I'd love to tell my story. So we're doing video enhancements, social media content as well. So stay tuned for that. And then I mentioned the able age adjustment. So that's going to be a big one. That's a national initiative due to the fact that that's a new adjustment for all able programs. We really are looking at the veterans community. We're looking at the traumatic brain injury community, because a lot of those incidents can happen after someone turned 26. And a lot of times people can be diagnosed later on in their life as well. So this is going to open the door for so many great individuals to get a stable account. So we're excited for outreach. And then our videos page on our website, I'm going to kind of switch gears here and see if I can go to our website here after this. Here's our program email address. feel free to send us an email if you have any specific questions. And then our call center is another great resource to get full access to account information. If you're going through enrollment and you get stuck on a screen and you're not sure what to click, you can always call our call center and they'll be able to walk you through exactly what to do next if you have any concerns. So they're amazing. And they support our national program as well. And then I love to show our websites. So we are, as I mentioned, we've got some great resources. We have a great video page, which I'll kind of go down here. So in our menu, we have our resources here. We've got some great FAQs, our videos. Here's some ambassador stories we've done over the years. They're all so different, different ages, different regions of Ohio. But we're always looking to shine the light on some different situations and stories and just, to really bring this home as that this is such a accessible program that can help so many different families in different situations. We want to ensure that families understand that this program can be opened if your child is under the age of 18 as well. If you are currently, taking care of a child and they, just got a diagnosis of autism and you feel, they're not 18 yet, we're not really thinking about finances, just know that you can open the account for your child. You can start making contributions. And then by the time that child is of 18 and they have the capacity to manage that account on their own, they're going to have some money in that account, which is great. So we've really seen so many different types of stories from different people, different chapters of people's lives when they're, going through middle school or high school. They're at that transition time or the young adult time where they're kind of dipping their toes into the work field and the workforce, and they're, wanting to know how they can protect their money and also work. This program affects so many different families at different chapters of life, which is the best thing ever. So that's why our outreach has been so fun over the years. And we really are devoted to ensuring that all Ohioans know about our program. So with that being said, also with our website, this is where you would go to open an account. We've got some great information more about eligibility, kind of how it works, how to make contributions, really all the big things that I talked about, but so much more. So I'm going to kind of bring it back to Teresa and we can kind of chat. And then, of course, as I mentioned, if anybody on the call has any questions or wants more information, they can always reach out to our team. All right.
Thank you so much, Elena. That has just been such a wonderful overview. And I think the best part, aside from learning about it more, has just been those self-advocacy stories and how they've been able to successfully use a stable account for themselves. So thank you so much for that. That's been a wonderful overview for our families.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Are you able to maybe do, a couple, maybe top three most common questions that you get? I know that you did a very thorough overview in the presentation, but maybe some common ones that you get after these types of presentations.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say another part of our outreach that we do is with organizations across Ohio. So we work with, residential ICF settings, we work with representative payees, and a lot of times they are tasked with opening and managing multiple stable accounts. So especially if a new resident moves in and they have a stable account, they're, trying to get access to the account. So we get a lot of questions on, can an organization, set themselves up to manage a stable account, which is the answer is yes, they can, which is great. So on our website, under the resource tab, under the videos, there's actually 2 videos that highlight the process of opening stable accounts if you're serving as an organization. Especially this helps with representative payees. My uncle actually is 70, I think he's 74. I know he just had a birthday, but he's in his 70s. And he was born right here in Franklin County with a really rare condition when he was, in the early 60s. And my grandparents did all the things to bring awareness to disability rights and making sure that he had care and compassion. And he has gone through so much in his life, and he is still with us. And he lives in a facility that's under the care of Boundless. I Am Boundless. They're out of Franklin County. I know they're growing like crazy, but he currently has a stable account. So I got to share that story. And my other uncle Ray, is his guardian. So he actually manages my Uncle Bill's estate. And, obviously that would encapture a stable account. But Boundless actually set themselves up as an organizational ALR. So in the event that my Uncle Bill, didn't have my Uncle Ray, and Boundless would be able to get access to his stable account because they're paying his bills, because they're taking in his SSDI, because they're taking in different, basically taking care of his expenses, they can actually take over the account and manage the account themselves. So that's a great feature, because a lot of times account holders that, as they get older or they're in a type of ICF setting, they want to make sure that they have someone that is still managing their estate. So that's kind of the number one thing that we get asked to. And we're really ramping up our outreach for organizations as well. So I'd say the second one is, yeah, just kind of the concern of when can we open the account? When would this fit? And I kind of wanted to end with, this is a great program that can be open at any time. If somebody is under the age of 18, they will need an authorized legal representative to begin with. So that's where we had that list of guardians, parents, siblings, representative payees, and then of course organizations. So, but as soon as somebody turns 18, as long as they have the capacity to manage their finances and, their parents or whoever is taking care of them, and trust them to do that, you can actually transfer the account to the person with the disability. So, yes, anybody at any time can open an account on behalf of their loved one, no matter what age, which is great and gives a lot of flexibility as well.
Is
And then
there ever,
oh, go.
oh, I was going to say, is there ever a cap of how much somebody can keep in a stable account at any point?
Yes, so there is a lifetime balance of, I think it went up a little bit this year. I think it is $541,000.
Right.
So we have been around for 9 years. So if I do the math correctly, no one has reached that yet. But we have had some account holders reach $100,000. And one thing we like to mention is, if you are on SSI, if your ABLE account, no matter what ABLE account program you're with, if your ABLE account reaches $100,000, SSI may suspend your benefits, meaning that they won't obviously restrict your benefits, but they would suspend you from getting a payment for the following month in the event that you would bring that balance down. So as we mentioned contribution limits, you can keep your benefits, all that good stuff, but we do know that SSI could restrict your benefits, suspend your benefits if your stable account balance hits $100,000. So great. That's a good question. Something we like to mention as well.
And then did you have one more question you were going to do?
More of a comment. I think the one thing that we are really trying to work on more is our direct deposit piece. We were at Biddy and Bo's yesterday. Have you heard of Biddy and Bo's coffee shop?
No.
Okay, so Biddy and Bo's Coffee Shop is they're a national coffee shop, and they were founded in North Carolina, and their initiative is that they hire people with disabilities, and it's just like this fun environment. Their social media is so great. So they finally opened an Ohio location in Columbus, Ohio, and Upper Arlington, and we went yesterday and we sat with the owners, and we're really trying to include our initiative stable account with employers, so that when employers are onboarding somebody, whether they have a disability or not, whether that's determined or disclosed, that they have a way to say, oh, also, stable account has this great feature for a direct deposit. If you have a stable account, if you're eligible, or if you're a working mom or dad and your child has a stable account, you can have your funds go in that stable account. So it's great for us to identify those employers across Ohio that have visibility to, we hire people with disabilities, we make great community. But we sat with the owners yesterday and we were like, how do you onboard people with disabilities? And they, explained the process. They've got this great app, they really are hands-on with the onboarding process. And so they now will be able to feature stable account and give their flyers out. But we were just so curious about kind of the process of sort of what happens with, ensuring that people with disabilities know about these jobs. And so we're always trying to connect with different employers across the state to hear about the process. And so we, obviously through your society, and I'm sure that some great employers in the community, but we're always just looking for ways to connect with those employers. And I know that OOD does a great job at kind of doing those employer match opportunities and So yeah, so I would say my comment is if there's any possibility that, we know employers in the community that can promote our program, that's the best way that people with disabilities have a new way that they can save their money even more. So it's been it's a big initiative because so many employers are so different and their
Yeah.
process of hiring and onboarding and their payroll and how it all works. But I gotta applaud Biddy and Bose because they make it so appealing to have people with disabilities say, I want to work there. And we met some employees yesterday that only work so many hours because they can't make more, they're not allowed to make more money based on their benefits. And now that they know about stable account, they can take on more hours and they can be at Biddy and Bose more. And they were like, so it was just really cool to hear that. And that's such like that's like a firsthand experience, of like these people want to work. They want to work more at Biddy and Bose and they want to, take on more money. But now that they know about stable account, it's a way that they can kind of offset that concern. So I don't know if you worked with any self-advocates that have experienced that before, but the one thing that we hear about the working piece is that if more employers know about stable account, they can promote it to their team members and employees. But I think as long as other groups are doing it too, hopefully that can get the word across. But I don't know if you've had any experience with that either.
So we do have some organizations up here who do hire individuals with disabilities, and I'm happy to connect those to you in case you haven't heard of them before. So that's such a wonderful story, and to see that kind of come full circle and how the stable account has allowed them to do more. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And a great
Yeah.
note to end on as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So that's our one feature is just, direct deposit and to ensure that, you know, Medicaid I know has some certain rules and regulations with your wages and how much you can work. And most of the time when we do webinars or presentations, most of the questions are about benefits. So one thing I just wanted to note is that, Medicaid, SSI, SSDI, you can keep those benefits as long as you are showing that you have a stable account and the contributions are going into a stable account. You can absolutely work more hours as long as obviously your wages fall and below the contribution amounts for stable account. You can take on more hours and you can take a bonus and you can work more. So it's a great initiative and a way that we can allow anybody to work and be part of the community. So